Hello, I'm Imara Jones, host of a series of conversations here at the People Summit on behalf of FSTV with a series of important thought leaders. And of course today we are joined by Katrina vanden, Heuvel, the one, the only editor-in-chief of The Nation magazine. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
As I said, this is a little bit different because either you and I are being interviewed together,
That's right,
or you're my boss's boss at The Nation when I've written for them and edited. So this is a little
I'm glad
weird.
to be at this table.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm still waiting on my martinis. I told you that before we got on. So
we may need many.
now you have to do it. You're being held to account. I wanted to talk to you about a series of things, but I have to start with the bombshell of the Comey testimony. It was something that anytime I've gotten into a cab here in Chicago, I've been asked about it, even on my way over here today. And one of the things that you've warned about at The Nation is not being hysterical about Russia, not overreacting, and not relying so much on that issue to believe that it's going to save the Democratic Party. But at the same time, there's a balance to try to hold the administration to account on any wrongdoing that might have happened.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious as to what's the right balance, and what are your overall thoughts?
It's a terrific question. I begin with the fact that I think we need an independent investigation. We're witnessing possible obstruction of justice. I think there's been a little bit too much of a leap to claim it. My concern about the Russia issue is that it seems to me that there's so much focus on it that we're losing sight of some of the other issues, which doesn't mean we shouldn't have investigation, but think about, Nina Turner was very good on this, the former Secretary of State of Ohio. You go out to Flint, Michigan, right? Mm-hmm. And they're not talking Comey, they're not talking Jared Kushner, which doesn't mean you don't have some investigation going.
Right.
But they're not. What are we saying to them about water supply?
Right.
And the damage to their communities. I also worry as someone who has studied, Russia for years. I've been going for 35 years. I'm friends with the leading independent news people and worked on feminist issues. It's neither pro-Trump nor pro-Putin to argue that we need a working relationship with Russia. I mean, we're on the cusp of an escalating arms race, which could lead to a catastrophe. We need a political resolution to the crisis in Syria. So I think that there is a ginned up frenzy about Russia, and it doesn't give agency to those who voted for Trump. It's saying that the Russians controlled it.
Right.
I mean, I just think we've lost the balance. I come back to the balance. We've lost the balance in this discussion.
Yeah.
Investigate possible collusion, possible interference in the election, but don't let it dominate. And MSNBC, a station, you've been on it, I've been on it. We did Melissa Perry's show years ago. Chris Hayes was the Washington editor of The Nation.
Yeah. He's
not able to do some of the programs he might do, which would have real political impact. I'll just say one, he did a great town hall a few months ago in West Virginia. Mm-hmm. It was the night of the Republican health care plan. Think about it, people in that community, many who had voted for Trump, were like, what's he doing? And there was a miner who said to Bernie Sanders, who was with Chris, you've done more to protect my pensions and my family than Senator McConnell. What's going on in Washington? I just think the more we can listen to people in the country, and the Russia stuff needs to happen, but it's occupying too much space.
Right, I understand that. And I also think that kind of what you alluded to is really important, is that there's a difference between the Russian government and Russian people. I mean, I think that it's one of the places on the planet where there couldn't be a starker difference between whatever is happening at the Kremlin and what is happening in civil society, which has come under assault and all the rest of it.
I've spent so many years studying. In fact, I won a Planned Parenthood Maggie Award in 1993 for a piece I did on the right does Russia. It was about Father Dobson, the right-wing Colorado Springs person who was going to Russia to preach anti-abortion politics. So these things have gone on through time. And I think what's important to really focus on is the corruption.
Right.
You have plutocrats and oligarchs here and there, but on some level
who've been in collusion sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, on some level I'm more concerned about the dark money, the Koch brothers, the American oligarchs who are suppressing the vote and controlling our democracy to its detriment.
one of the things that you just alluded to was MSNBC.
Yeah.
And one of the conversations that we've had is, and I think this is particularly relevant because one of the things that's really important about the People's Summit is the gathering of young activists, young people who are passionate about independent media, about transforming society from the ground up. And what insights you have about the importance of not relying on mainstream media, the importance of young journalists to seek an independent route, because as we were saying, some of the transformations that have happened at a place like MSNBC, for example, is because, you know, mainstream media sees itself as a part of the establishment.
That's right. I think that's right. I mean, the guy who came in to run MSNBC, Andrew Lack, I think said very clearly that we see ourselves as part of the establishment. How then do you hold the powerful accountable, the establishment accountable, which I see as the role of a media, to hold government, corporate power. I think young people are finding their news in other ways. You know, I mean, you look at the demographics for some of the corporate network news. Fox. 60, 70 years old, all power to older people, but it's, younger people are being creative, innovative, in creating their own media diet. And you see it in the insurgencies cropping up around the country, that they're not being tethered to the status quo.
Right.
And I think just as the status quo is imploding in so many areas, finance, government, it's imploding in the media too. There's a splintering, which is both healthy and, you know, it's worrisome sometimes. But I think it's, as I said earlier, it's like the old order. The old media order is disappearing and the new one is not yet there. And in this moment, people are finding their own way, which is healthy. Look at Bernie Sanders' campaign. The gatekeepers of our establishment media gave him almost nothing. They gave Trump unfettered access to the airwaves.
They just turned the camera on.
Media malpractice. So what's encouraging is that he broke through that. In the same way Jeremy Corbyn, who, you know, it's a win of sorts. He broke through the media barricade. The tabloids, even The Guardian, savaged him. So I think we need to think hard about what is a media that is critical-minded but sustains, inspires, oxygenates movements, and covers them seriously, which we've done at The Nation for many years.
One of the questions that I had, I think we probably have to wrap up soon, is America's blackening and browning, but newsrooms across the board generally aren't keeping pace with that. And I'm wondering, what do you think needs to be done to change that? What's your thinking when you sit atop of a really powerful independent media organization? What are the things that you work on to try to shift that?
So what we've done in the last couple years is develop beats. Not that Julianne Hayes, who's doing the immigration rights
She's fantastic.
She's fantastic. Collier Robinson, racial justice. They're integrated into the magazine. They write about a range of things. Collier did an interesting piece about Linda Sarsour, so kind of intersectional. But to make sure that they are lifted up and given resources on those beats and to commit to those. I think it's a different issue for mainstream than it is for independent media. There's almost more importance for independent media to open up. And I think we need to do it through more fellowships. We started at the Nation Institute an Ida B. Wells investigative journalism program. And so we're going to tap into those journalists, young people of color, to work with them on stories. And out of that, I think you'll see a real pool of new talent and a kind of, in the best sense of the word, a conveyor belt into media newsrooms. So that's hopeful. But
you've also done a thing that doesn't really happen in newsrooms, which is you've hired editors. You hired diverse editors. I mean, we miss Kai Wright. And we would like to hire more. It's a small place. But I think editors, journalists, fellows, that mix is a good one to get that diversity. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I could sit here forever to talk to you. I told you I could wake you up in the middle of the night and have an interesting conversation. I don't know how Steve would feel about that, but your husband. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.